Royce Morales is the founder and teacher of the Perfect Life Awakening program, author, columnist, and expert on mirroring. She empowers clients with her profound process that helps neutralize self-sabotage, shift stuck patterns and negative thinking by locating the origins of limiting subconscious programmed beliefs. Live an authentic existence. Discover your true purpose. Connect with your higher consciousness. Reset your life. Transform from triggered to empowered and attract what you truly desire and deserve by discovering what life is reflecting to you. Because it's all mirrors.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited. I always say that, don't I? Because I am. I'm really excited to talk to everybody today about what our bodies are reflecting to us. It's something I talk a lot about in my program, but it's kind of touchy because I'm relatively controversial. It's like, I don't know, for people to understand that perhaps they're responsible for their health on a spiritual level and an emotional and mental level is kind of tough for people. In fact, I don't usually talk about it until several weeks into my program because people really have a hard time with it. But since my work is all about spiritual awakening and understanding everything as a mirror, how can I ignore talking about bodies as being mirrors too? So part of that is knowing that we are the creators of our body and our health and everything in our life, not just that, of course, as you probably figured out if you've watched my show the last few weeks. But we also have the power to heal ourselves. And we definitely have the power to understand what our bodies are trying to tell us, what they are reflecting. And I have so many examples that I'm going to share with you. And before I get into all that and introduce my wonderful guest, I want to go through some of the slides that I've put together that explain how bodies are our mirrors. So let's pull up those slides. And just to remind you, once again, I always start out my presentation by reminding you that mirrors are like seesaws. You push something down, if you ignore something, if you deny something, you run from something, it's always going to come up in some way. So push down one side of the seesaw, it comes up because energy can never be suppressed. So that's the theory or the understanding of mirrors. So let's go to the second one, which is talking about how buttons and triggers are trying to show us a mirror of something about ourselves. And your physical body can mirror your internal condition, your suppressed emotions, your programmed beliefs, your unrecognized fears, and especially your denial. And I'm going to talk more about that today. So that's what your body is mirroring to you, all of that stuff that you are not wanting to look at. And there's a lot, let me tell you, because we just don't like looking at mirrors to begin with, but especially mirrors that would have us be more responsible for our body's condition. So let's go to the next slide. Excuse me. And just real briefly, what is a physical body? And this is the metaphysical definition. It's a vehicle. I look at it as a car. It's transporting your higher self, your spirit, from place to place, enjoying life, experiencing physical life to learn lessons, to clean up your past, and to do your purpose here. Those are the basic three reasons that you're in a body. And the condition of your physical body reflects how you have subconsciously directed it. I don't remember what book I read this in, but it was years ago, and I should have put a quote around it. Cells don't think or make decisions. We are directing them energetically, subconsciously. Now, think about that one for a minute. That's huge. And the most important one, or one of the most important ones, as far as I'm concerned, is that your body is showing you what you are in denial of. There was a book called The Body Doesn't Lie. So that's a quote from that book. Everything that's incomplete, like perhaps you've suppressed your emotions, your fears, your anger, the unresolved, unprocessed thoughts, which are the program beliefs that we've bought into, things we decided about ourselves, the fact that we don't believe we deserve. In some way, all of those things are going to manifest physically. And another big one is that you chose your body. Yes, I've talked about that before, that we choose our bodies, chose this body for the higher self, the spiritual lessons that we're here to learn and perhaps teach. So if I'm here to learn that, I'm I don't know, I can't even think of a good example. I'm here to learn that I'm supposed to talk to people about healing themselves. My body in some way is going to teach me that. It's going to present lessons for me so that I learn that, which is what I've gone through in my life in a lot of ways, so that I could teach others. So let's go to the next slide. So the other reason, the other definition of bodies is that we've got this primitive fear-based consciousness that's very attached to this physical form. It believes that this is who we are. So we've talked about that before, that I call it the lower self. It's the primitive consciousness that says you've got to survive. And on a higher level, on a spiritual level, life is constantly trying to teach you to let go of that strong attachment. I mean, yeah, you can be in a physical form, but if it goes away, no big deal, really. And because you're really here to have fun in this body and to learn what you're supposed to learn and to do what your purpose is and to let go of all of that fear-based stuff. And one more thing, physical body has capabilities that go far beyond what we generally accept that a body can do. I know years ago when I was just starting out my spiritual journey, I read Yogananda's book where he talks about all these capabilities that he had that to him were no big deal. He traveled across country in a car way before cars were very common. And when he got across country, somebody said to him, well, how did you find gas to fill your car? And he's like, gas? What's gas? So he was able to do all these amazing things. He was able to live underwater for hours at a time. It's a really interesting awakening thing to start realizing that your body can do all kinds of things. And I mentioned this a little bit, but your spirit or your higher self sees being in a physical body as this joyous, fun thing to do. It's like playing in the form that we chose, playing to clean up our past. And like I've said, your life is a reflection of and a creation of those false negative beliefs, as well as the spiritual lessons you have chosen to learn. So that's how I see the physical body. And let's go a little bit deeper on the next slide. Choices. Deeply held belief that we have is that we are victims of this physical existence. We are told from day one that, this stuff happens to you, and it's the environment and it's your genes, and if you go out in the rain, you're going to get sick, and all of that stuff that we're told. And a huge belief that we buy into very early on is that disease is inevitable, and it isn't. I find, and I'll share a story about this, there's often a split second, usually subconscious choice that we make to buy into a physical problem or to get sick. So here's my story. I've told this story for so many years. In the middle of the night, in the summer, one night, I heard the sound of rain, and I had a car at that point that I had left the top of the car off because it was summer. So I go running outside in my pajamas, trying desperately to get the top of my car to close, and it was cold. And I heard this little thought in me that said, oh, you're gonna get sick. And the minute I had that thought, I felt my throat tighten up, and I was like, I'm going to get sick. But I caught myself with that thought, and I said, wait a minute, that's a belief. That's not true. I don't have to get sick because I'm out here in the rain getting soaked. And I literally sent away that thought, and I never got sick. And that taught me how powerful we are when we buy into thoughts like that. And usually they're subconscious, but luckily I was aware enough to see that, oh, that is a thought that I just had. So once you get more conscious and step out of victim mode, you can make other choices which can actually prevent disease. That's an example of it. And disease and physical issues are subconsciously chosen based on the following. Let's go to that next slide. Number one is our inner programming. I'm just going to kind of go through these really fast. Disease, physical issues can manifest as a result of the thoughts we had at a young age that we believed were true during moments of pain and loss. We make these decisions. I think I've talked about that before. So, we're 2 years old and we fall down, we're hurt, and we make decisions like, oh, I'm clumsy, or life is hard, or life causes pain, or there's all kinds of decisions that we make, especially about ourselves. And those incidents become part of our inner programming. That becomes who we believe we are. So that's number one. Number two, on the next slide, is rewards. A lot of times we get attention and love and other rewards when we are sick. I remember my mom would always buy me a candy bar when I was sick. And it was kind of nice. It's like, wow, I get a candy bar when I'm sick, and mom pays attention to me, and she stays home from work, and, all of that stuff. So I noticed that I kind of enjoyed that. And I think a lot of us enjoy being sick because of that attention. So my body gets sick to guarantee that I get attention, pity, love, rescuing, etc. So that's a number two reason that we hold on to these diseases that we manifest. The third reason, on the next slide, is punishment. This one is a tough one. Disease and physical issues can be the result of believing that we caused pain and loss to others, deciding that I deserve physical punishment as a way to balance out what I did. So let's say I hit my sister with a baseball bat because I was angry at her. Now I deserve to have somebody hit me, or I deserve to have problems in my hand. I deserve to keep everybody safe from me by having that area that caused the pain start to manifest physical problems. So suddenly my hand gets arthritis, and I don't remember that incident. I don't remember doing that, but my body is in some way being a manifestation of the punishment I believe I deserve. We manifest physical issues where we believe we hurt others. So maybe I keep bumping my hand, or I keep, breaking my hand, or whatever. Why? Because I believe that I don't deserve love in that area of my body, because that's where I hurt somebody. And on a deep level, we start to literally kill off that area because we want to keep everybody safe from me, and I want to punish myself. So as I say on the bottom there, disease is kind of a distorted way to clean up what you did, but we never believe it's enough because, oh my gosh, I did this horrible thing. So I never believe that it's enough. I need to continue to be sick and can't allow myself to heal because of what I did. So that's a huge one. Very tough to admit, but that's a huge one. Now, the fourth reason is on the next slide, a spiritual message. So what is the message that your body is giving you with this disease? And there's, generally speaking, an order to how we receive those messages. The first order is spiritually. So I intuitively sense that I need to take off a day from work and relax. Okay. So my spirit is saying, Royce, you need to take some time off. But I don't listen to that. I don't listen to my spirit. I don't listen to those messages my intuition is giving me. So the next level is my logical mind steps in and says, logically speaking, you should take some time off from work because you seem really stressed. Don't listen to it. Okay. The next level is through my emotions. I find myself crying at work every day and being, stressed and irritable and grumpy. I'm ignoring that. So what's the next level to get that message? Physically. So my body says, okay, you're not listening, so let's just get sick. And then you're guaranteed to take that day off from work. So if you're not hearing what your body is attempting to tell you in that last level of trying to reach you, sometimes we attract someone or something to mirror what we're ignoring. So those are the 4 basic ways that we manifest all of these wonderful mirrors in our body. And let's talk about the next slide. So I love this. I love little words that mean different things. Ill is imagined lack of love. So what is the big lesson that we're here to learn? That we are love and that we are manifesting love. Everybody is love. So physical issues offer huge lessons to us, huge opportunities for our higher consciousness growth. Disease is often a loud signal, a mirror telling you that you're out of harmony with your soul. You're in conflict with what it wants you to be doing. You aren't living from your highest truth, and the highest truth is, of course, love. So that's what I want to say on my side about healing and mirroring and all of that. And I want to just jump right in and introduce my guest today. So let's bring in Don. Where is Don? There he is. So let me introduce Don.
Royce.
Good morning, Don. I'm so glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
Tell everybody your bio because it's really interesting, and I want you to talk about a couple of things on this bio.
Wow.
Wait. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You can do it.
It's been a journey. Like you said, it's a transformative journey. First off, I'm a chiropractor, and I love that. I got into chiropractic because it saved my life physically, and I can go into that. But then I was into the physical success building, physical worldly, and it destroyed my marriage. And I went through a real deep, dark place. And at that time, when I was in that deep, dark place, I found Royce, and I started to process. I started to clean up my act, and that has made a big difference in my life. Through that, I saw where I was creating a lot of my own stuff. Looked at the mirrors, really took that on. And with that, I decided I always was in love with the brain and the neurology. And so I decided to take a deep dive into the neurology. And I got a 2nd degree in functional neurology, which means brain-based healing without drugs. Okay. So I do a lot of that. And now I'm working in functional medicine. I do a lot of that. I'm very cerebral in a lot of ways because I like to think and learn facts and things like that. So I have a degree in that, but I really took a deep dive into the various levels of health and how we take care of our health. One of the biggest ones is our subconscious mind. Everything you brought up is right in that category. And I do some things in my office to help that. I can't take a deep dive into, because of time constraints with my patients, I can't spend a few hours or an hour or things really diving deep. So I have to kind of come up with some clinical ways to interrupt subconscious patterns and let people understand what's going on, kind of opening up the iceberg, so to speak, or opening up the thing so they can start to see. Because one of the things you said was so powerful is that people just don't see themselves as powerful enough to change their health. They see themselves as victims. They're taught to, this is one of my frustrating things as a doctor, is that people come in and say, "Oh yeah, I did what I want. I'm not responsible for anything in my life. I just go out and have fun and do what I want. And oh, something's broken. I came in here and you got to fix it." And that's the model that we've been taught. Unfortunately, they don't understand that there's many levels to health, and they gotta address all those levels every day, and including the subconscious, and be acutely aware and understanding how you create health and disease in your body is one of the most impactful things I can teach my patients. And I do a process with them where, again, like I said, I interrupt certain subconscious patterns, kind of open the door for that. And then they start to see where, oh my gosh, I can change. My body can change from what I'm doing, what I'm feeding it, feeding it nutritionally, feeding it mentally, feeding it subconsciously. It's all what you feed your body and how you nourish it in a lot of different ways. So I'm constantly trying to get my patients to go up to the next level of health and taking care of their body. So as far as a bio concern, one of my biggest bios is real life. Yeah. I've survived this life for 68 years now, and I've learned a few things. And those things are that I'm not a victim of anything. I have so many examples myself of healings in my body that from taking all this work and applying it in my life, especially mirrors. And that's one of the most powerful things. But it's also one of the things that people resist the most.
Oh yeah.
And it's hard. Even myself, I give you an example. This morning, I was late last night or early this morning. I was sleeping, and the alarm went off in my car. Okay, and I got up and grumbling, I went out and turned it off. And so an hour or two later, it went off again. So I went out and turned it off and laid in bed, and of course I'm thinking, gosh, everybody's going to be mad at me, or the whole neighborhood up. I want to be nice and rested for this, and so well, maybe that's a mirror. Maybe that's just a mirror. Do you think? And so I started looking at it, and I was suppressing some resistance to doing this today, some fear, because I don't do a whole lot of podcasts or anything like that. I'm not very tech savvy. Though I do speak and teach in seminars, but there was some resistance and fear coming up for me, and I was suppressing it. And so I looked at it and saw some issues that being rejected and being kicked out of the tribe or village, or the whole thing, being kicked out of my group of people that I love and want to be a part of and stuff. And maybe something I say is not going to be right, and something I say, I just started going through and acknowledging and looking at the source of all those and process. And believe me, I'm pretty good at processing it. All this that I'm describing took me all of probably 3 minutes. To really, once you get processing, you can get down to the core issue really fast. And so I looked at that and turned over and went back to sleep. Now I'm doing great. But that's an example of, a good example of a mirror, and how you can use that. But it's also an example of how you resist, because I was not even consciously aware of that until I started looking at the mirror of the alarms going off. Okay, I think that's what I said in my mind. Okay, I got alarms going off in my mind, in my brain. That's telling me. So
what a great example. I mean, especially the alarm. I mean, what bigger metaphor could you get?
Yeah. So wow. Living life this way has opened up a lot of doors for experiences that are unbelievable. And so I really appreciate what you've taught. And back in the day, I needed a safe place, and you created that safe place to look at these things that I did, and not real. Sometimes not real nice. I wouldn't say I was a bully, but I wasn't always the nicest person in grade school. I remember one, and this was, I don't remember the physical manifestation of it, but I remember looking back at a process and seeing, I think it was 7th or 8th grade, some girl liked me and I said she was ugly. And, that's pretty mean. I look back now and I would never do that. But I think, going back and cleaning that up, at least in my mind, as best I could, because I don't know her now, but, allowed me to change the physical manifestation that was happening in my body. And I've had so many of those. You talk a lot about that, but getting my patients to shift into that is a real tough thing, because they, like you said, they are indoctrinated or trained into the medical model, and that's one of the frustrations. People come in and they say, "Oh, this is all you're manifesting this on some level," and we can start to shift it and go from there. But as they start to shift, some people can go deeper. Some people say, "Okay, thanks, doc. I'm good now. You fixed this problem," and then they go away for 6 months, and then they come back with another issue. Another mirror, another thing that's manifesting.
Yeah.
So
we need to take a break.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's take a little bit of a break, and then when we come back, I want you to talk some more about about how you reach patients and get them to start looking at mirrors. So we'll be right back.
Do you want to use
Om Times TV. Do you want to break free from old patterns and limiting beliefs that subconsciously sabotage your life? What are your triggers, and what really is beneath them? Are you seeking answers to life's big questions, intrigued by the possibility of self-discovery that goes deep? Looking for tools to help you break free from hidden sources of feeling stuck, confused, and unworthy? Perfect Life Awakening takes you on an epic inner adventure that shifts your perception of yourself, others, and life permanently. Identify and overcome the origins of subconscious triggers and limiting beliefs holding you back. That's how you transform your mindset from the roots. That's how you liberate your spirit, awaken your intuition, and discover your true purpose. Dive deep into the mysteries held within. Embark on a life-altering journey of self-discovery. Be a trailblazer within your own life. Go from triggered to empowered, because you deserve a perfect life awakening. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back. I'm talking to Dr. Baune, and we are talking about bodies as mirrors, bodies as reflecting what's going on inside of us, especially our subconscious. And you mentioned before, Dawn, that you help people kind of stop those subconscious thoughts. What is the technique that you do? What is it you use?
Well, it's a neurological process using a little instrument that provides a little stimulation to nerve endings that go up and stimulate the brain and interrupt that process. We know if you send a signal up to the brain, then it interrupts certain processes, and it will stop the brain from going in an entrenched way and allow the brain freedom to look at things. Because so many times these patterns are stuck neurologically, and we know that once you fire a neurological pathway enough, that it fires almost on its own, and you can interrupt those from above consciously if you're good enough and if you're strong enough. But we also can interrupt those from the body. So we do that with a little bit of a tapping device at the right time, and it interrupts these patterns and allows people to understand and look at their stuff much easier. It's called biokinetics health system, and this is what I teach to doctors, and I teach people self-care all the time, how to do it themselves and stuff. It's really a fun process, but I've used it on myself. My wife Nancy uses it. My kids use it, and it's a great process. But it allows you to just start to break that ice of the neurological protection mode. Again, it's so in line. Like I said, what I learned from Royce is I took into the neurology world, and I started understanding what parts of the brain are involved and how do we interrupt those parts of the brain? How do we get into those areas, and from a scientific level, and start to really do it. It doesn't necessarily go into a deep dive to fully understand everything, but it opens a door for you to see that. It's so amazing. A lot of my patients, I'll interrupt the pattern, and they'll come back later and they'll get a deeper understanding of what that was all about after interrupting the pattern. So it's called a biokinetics program, for what that's worth.
Yeah,
this is the little instrument, and it gives a little click.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We use it up here where there's nerve endings. I don't want this to be an advertisement, but that's what I do.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I was going to ask you. So, do you ever talk to them about, some of the stuff that I presented in terms of why people manifest disease? Do you ever get into those kind of discussions with people?
Yeah, all the time. Although I am limited clinically because I have a very busy practice, and I can't just spend even 15 minutes. But and I'm thinking about writing a book outlining these areas. I have, and I call it like the levels of health. And I do have a PowerPoint presentation I can go real briefly through right now if you want to go through that, or I can just talk about it, explain it. But there's different levels of health, and we have to maintain all those levels, not just the subconscious, not just the other ones. And you mentioned that our physical bodies are a car, right? Well, you still have to maintain your car, right? You can't trash it. You have to maintain it. So how do you do that? And a lot of I start people with teaching them how to learn how to take care of their physical body correctly. Nutrition, exercise, all the standard things that most people think of what they're supposed to do, and not do to take care of their physical body. And those are really important, but they're vital. You can't ignore them, or your body's gonna break down, And so, so the next level of health above that is your control system, your computer system. That's your brain and nervous system. and your different energy systems. That's where chiropractic comes in, with connecting the brain to the body, making sure there's a free flow of energy to the body. But also what we've learned, and this is what my deep dive into functional neurology is that the brain needs afferent stimulation from the body in order to work properly. You can't move your finger unless your brain knows where that finger is in space, and where it's moving to and where it's moving from. All that feedback needs to get up to the brain, and the brain actually needs physical stimulation in order to work. So a lot of the physical stimulation comes from the spine. So when I'm adjusting someone, I tell people it's like playing the piano to your brain. Okay, I'm stimulating different areas of your brain based on what I'm adjusting and what I'm working on, and just basically waking up different areas of your brain. So that's and getting your computer to work right. Your computer control your body. That's also where because acupuncture is, they work with the control system of the body. It's a perineural, which means it's outside the nervous system, but it's still the control system. So just having people understand and taking care of every level. So above that is our conscious mind, very powerful. We have negative thoughts, we have negative attitudes. People can come in on anything and destroy what you're trying to do if they have a bad attitude, or bad beliefs, conscious beliefs. They can choose conscious beliefs, and that you have to learn how to control. You have to learn to control your own thoughts and take those and like you said, that one belief that was a conscious decision you had when you were out in the cold and you said, "Oh, I could get sick," and you consciously turned that around. Okay, which was great. You have to learn how to do that and how to master your conscious mind and brain. An example of that, I fell off the roof a couple years ago. Fell 12 feet, 13 feet is usually fatal. Okay, and so because I'd done a lot of work on myself, I didn't have a lot of stress patterns or things going off, but I knew I was going over, and I could have gone into oh shit, I'm going to get hurt. This is bad. This is really bad. But I don't know. I think three things happened. I consciously had the thought, I'm just going to relax like I'm drunk, and I'm just going to flow with it. I had that conscious thought. Number two, I said, I remember when I was 5 years old in the job site with my dad, we used to jump off roofs, and land in dirt piles and land in, so I said, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to be a 5-year-old. I'm going to go off this roof like a 5-year-old and have fun. The third thing, I prayed and I believed God was with me when I went down, and he protected me. So those three things, I went off the roof, fell, landed on my feet, flexed down. When I came all the way down, I felt this huge amount of energy just go whoosh right out of me, and I bounced back up and I walked away, and I said, what the heck happened? And I to this day, I haven't had any problems with directly from that. And so that's an example of consciously in the moment choosing to be healthy and not fear, and choosing to go with something, okay, and not fight it. But I didn't have a lot of subconscious crap or stuff in my head from all the processing I did, from all the clearing of the biokinetics, all that stuff. I was pretty clear. So some, you want to call it dumb luck? I don't think so. I think it was very purposeful when I went off. So that's an example of the conscious, people feed in their consciousness all day. Watch enough TV and you're feeding your conscious brain massive amounts of negativity. If you want to do that, we don't even watch TV. I refuse to. I refuse to be indoctrinated and brought into the group think of negativity. I want to control my own conscious world. So that's conscious level of thought. The next level of thought is the subconscious, and that's all of what you've taught, or pretty much all of what you talked about is the subconscious and how these fear-based reactions actually happen, and they get set up in our brain, and where in the brain they happen, what are the neurological pathways that come in and do that, and how to interrupt them. You can, higher levels brain. You talked about the primitive brain. Yeah, that's very real. There's a called a paleocortex. It's the old brain, and you get into different brainstem levels, and those things are where we store a lot of this stuff. The limbic system and an area called the mesencephalon, which is the top of the brainstem, where we hold all these memories. But we also have a neocortex, which is the new cortex, the new brain. And we can consciously understand and influence these from top down and let them go. But we can also influence them from bottom up just by interrupting them and letting go of them and being so stuck. Just can't get out of it, and you just can't see. So that's kind of my passion. I love in that dynamic. And so that's the subconscious level. The brain can only be in running from the tiger or laying down in the green pastures. It can't be in both at the same time. It can be in one of those. Can't be in both. So if you're running from the tiger, you don't care. You don't care what's if you're running over broken glass. People think the brain is wired to make us healthy, but it's not. That's secondary. If people go, what? The brain's supposed to make us healthy. It runs the body. Yes, but it's a survival tool. It will choose survival over health any day. And that's where you get into the breakdown of your health, because on some level, your body is choosing survival, and it'll run over broken glass. It'll jump off cliffs. It'll do anything that's not very healthy in order to protect you from the proverbial tiger that you have running in your brain, in your mind. And the thing is, those memories, they're big at first, but then you kind of adapt to them, but they're always on the bottom level. There's always a little bit of a stress memory reaction, and as you age, those stress memory reactions build up in what I call the stress bucket. Some people call it the layers of the onion. I know we've talked about it, but I call it the stress bucket. Those things add up, and by the time you're in your 50s or 40s, how many stress instances do you have built up? And there are 4 levels of stress that you can work with. There's of course the physical, and that's what we're talking about now. There's physical injuries. My battery was running low. I got fixed it. There's physical stress reactions from old physical injuries. The body remembers that. If you injure your ankle when you're 5 years old, every time you move your ankle like that, it's going to send a signal to your brain, and the brain's going to go, "Uh-oh, that's a mirror. That's there's something going on. I need to protect them from that." So it triggers that stress memory. There's emotional stress memories. How many? I have to pause for a minute, because I can't tell you how many times I see and deal with women that have been abused, and all kinds of emotional traumas that they've sustained. And it just breaks my heart when that happens. And I don't know, that has to change, to shift. And hopefully we make a stand for that. But it's not. It just breaks my heart. So, because I see a lot in my practice, but I help people through it, because they're so stuck in running from the tiger that they're not even. They're not even capable of opening that door. And so with the work that I do, it kind of just interrupts that pattern. It makes it safe for them to stop running and turn around. Okay, oh, tiger's not there anymore? Oh, I can start looking at this stuff. I can start seeing it. I can start understanding it. So that's That's what that works with. So that's physical and emotional. There's chemical stressors, old toxins. Most people don't know that allergies and very often are just these reactive stress patterns from old fear-based reactions and stressors that have been in the past. Your body is trying to protect you from something, and your brain. There's a direct connection between the brain and your immune system. I tell people it's like the immune system are the soldiers down in the field fighting the war, but your brain is the generals up on the hill telling the soldiers what to do. So if the general tell the soldiers to stop fighting, the war's over, right? And so if you approach an allergy with talking to the generals, then the generals will tell the soldiers to stop fighting, and it works very well. I've cleared a lot of people out of allergies, severe allergies. I'm very careful with anaphylactic shock, and those are very real, and I have to be careful with that. However, I will say I was teaching this in front of about 100 doctors, and I was demonstrating it, and I asked for a doctor to come up. I just asked for a volunteer to demonstrate the allergy clearing part of it. And some guy came up and he said, I have such a severe reaction to shellfish of any kind. I've been in the hospital 3 times. This was before they had EpiPens. It was a while ago. But he said, I can't even think about it, or I break out and everything. So I said, okay, well, let's just demonstrate this. So I demonstrated it in front of the class, and didn't think anything of it. And we broke for lunch, and we started after lunch, and I didn't notice, but he wasn't in his chair. He sat near the front. And I'm teaching. About 10 minutes later, he came bursting through the back doors, waving a bag and saying, I have a testimonial. And I'm sitting there in front of about 100 doctors thinking, I'm either going to look really good or I'm going to look really bad. And he sat there the rest of the day, and for the rest of his life, basically, he didn't have any reaction to shellfish at all. And it was clearing a subconscious memory pattern from an old trauma that he had, and he was friends with Dr. Newsom, my partner, who helped develop this work. I was part of the team, Dr. Newsom and myself, to develop all this work and help lay down the foundation of it. So he became good friends with Dr. Newsom, and he lived his whole life without it. So anyway, that's an example of a chemical allergy clearing. Your brain is so powerful in doing it. The last stress memory that can happen is electromagnetic. You've heard of cell phones causing cancer. You've heard of all this stuff, right? Well, if you clear out the subconscious resistance to the electromagnetic energy, the energy passes right through you, just like light through a window, and it doesn't have an effect. The only way electromagnetic energy can affect you is if there's resistance in your body. And 90 to 95% of that is our subconscious mind sensing that electromagnetic energy and fear and triggering a fear reaction and working with it. If you just relax, then it just goes right through you if you turn off that fear reaction neurologically. So I've cleared myself to cell phones. I've cleared myself to a lot of different things. Nancy and I were hiking up in Mount Palomar, and we got to the top of the mountain, and there was a huge military array of antennas and things like that, microwave and all this stuff. And our first reaction was, let's get out of here, And I thought, no, let's just stay here and clear ourselves because we don't have this chance. So we tuned our nervous system to the frequencies of whatever was there. And, I just took that opportunity. Do I have a tangible effect of that? No, but I just know that I cleared my body to that. So therefore, if I get exposed to that frequency again, it's just going to go right through. So so those are the 4 different parts of the spectrum of things that your body can set up as a fear-based reaction. Okay. Yes. Physical, emotional, chemical, and electromagnetic. And
So what about,
the brain, they're all the same, and clearing them out is all the same.
yeah. So what
So-
about, you mentioned the tiger chasing you, but what about the other side of that with you chasing the tiger and killing the tiger? And what kind of, do you do clearing in terms of you setting up situations like that?
Yes.
That I was mentioning before, that we're here to clean things up.
Yeah, I don't get into a deep dive, but I do talk, when I clear someone, I go through the phases of forgiveness. In other words, forgiveness, I can have them say out loud, I forgive that person. It's claiming, letting go of the victimhood and letting it all go. And then while I'm doing that, I'm interrupting any pattern that is not congruent with that forgiveness.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I have them go through that. I give that person forgiveness, permission to forgive me. And therefore that sets up that anything that they did and anything that they were part of that system. Okay. And then I go into forgiving myself or themselves for any harm they've caused themselves because of this whole thing or whatever, so those, I cover that in that way. And also if it comes up, we talk about those kind of issues as well. So that's the subconscious level of health that then we get up into the spiritual level where you have to the spiritual level does influence all the levels down below, but all the levels down below influences all the way up. So this cycle thing. And the spiritual level is our higher self, where we seek nirvana, we seek to know God and all that stuff. But it's also a level where we seek to try and be God and do that. But that's the level where we pray, where we do certain meditations, and all the religious practices are set in this spiritual realm where we're trying to fix our spirit or make our spirit better or do and not realize that our spirit is what our spirit really is and stuff. So those are the levels of health. Above that is God. I've come to a faith in Jesus that he's above, he transcends all of our spirit because he is part of God, the bigger God. And he said, and we can't get our spirit, there's a void. We can't get all the way. Our spirit can't connect. We're separate from God. And why did we get separate from God? Because we ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's in the Bible. Did we eat an apple? No. Most people believe, we ate an apple and we're bad and we're sinners and all this stuff. No, we ate of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and therefore we gained the knowledge of good and evil, and therefore we gained the ability to judge ourselves and judge God and judge the creation. And so when you talk about decision-forming incidents and fear-based reactions, it all comes from our knowledge of good and evil. Before that, we were one with God, and we trusted and we knew God, and God's spirit was in us, and we just lived. And so, but because we gained the knowledge of good and evil, God says, this gave us ability to change God's creation, including ourselves. That's where we went downhill. So he said, I can't have you in this world if you're going to try and change it. And so he separated us, and our whole existence, he says, he separated us and said, okay, go ahead and try and figure it out on your own. Go ahead and, see what you can do. And since then, we've created all these wars, we've created all these structures, government structures, all this stuff, to try and figure out how to make it without God.
Yeah.
And then, so Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father. So he made it easy. Just faith. We don't have to work at getting to God. We just have to trust him. So that's my beliefs, and I realize it might not be everybody's beliefs, but that's how I explain a Christian faith in Jesus, and how it incorporates with this whole model of all the different levels of health. You have to work at every single level, every single day to truly be healthy.
So we have like a minute left. how do people reach you? How can people reach out to you and get some of your wonderful healing work?
Well, I'm not very tech savvy. I don't have a big blog or a big website. I do have a website called SBHW, South Bay Health and Wellness Center. They can Google Dr. Don Baune. I have an email, which is drdonbaune@gmail.com. That's DRDONBAUNE@gmail.com. And we also have biokineticshealthsystem.com. And we have Biokinetics Reset. That's BIOKINETICSRESET. That's the self-care where you can learn to clear yourself and interrupt these patterns on your own. So those are the ways they can get a hold of me.
Thank you, Don, so much. This was awesome. I hate to cut you off. We'll have to have you on again.
No,
Because
I would love to come back and talk more. I can get into the depth of it.
Great.
But it was so great to see you and talk to you. And I love you, Royce. I love you, what you've contributed to my life.
Thank you, Don. And I will see everybody next Wednesday for my Perfect Life Awakening show. Thank you so much.
Okay.